Yes, guys, we are back for another edition of Commissioner's Corner. Of course, I'm your host with the most, NK, aka Man the Hour, too sweet to be sour. And of course, I'm always joined by my co-host, Knowledge. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. I've got WCW Clash of the Champions from February 1997 on. I have no memory of this show, so I've just decided to put it on. Dean Malenko against the Ultimo Dragon is on the television right now, and I'm watching it. And I'm sure I've seen it. I would have seen it years ago, and I would have seen it in 1997, but I've just got no memory of it. So it's looks like a good little match. Every time I'm on this, I've always got something on that I haven't seen in ages. So just to keep me in the mood, because sometimes I don't want to talk about wrestling. I want to talk about Rick James or something. I don't know anything.
Yeah. Speaking of Dean Malenko, if there's one Dean Malenko match you think, well, just off the top of your head, that you think people should go out there and watch, 'cause I feel like Dean Malenko is always somebody who's credited as being as a great worker, but I feel like I don't know, not enough shine gets put on his name because I've seen a few Dean Malenko matches. I'm like, but this guy gets not underrated, but like he was an amazing worker. Like at his heyday, he was an amazing worker.
He was a great wrestler. He's
Yeah.
somebody who I think a lot of wrestlers just get forgotten over time, and especially with him, he didn't really get a WWE run, and that's the stuff that seems to live in people's memories. So that's the show. Sting and Flair went to the time limit. No, I'm watching one from '97. Flair and Sting went to time limit in March '98. This one, I think the main event of this one is Scott Hall and Lex Luger. I think that's the main event of this one. But yeah, Sting and Flair went to 45-minute draw at the Greensboro Coliseum in March '98. That went head to head with WrestleMania 4, by the way. But yeah, Dean Malenko has got a few. There's ones that stick to mind. He had one with Eddie Guerrero, the final match that they both had in ECW. I think the show was I think it was Hostile City Showdown in 1995. I think that was the show. Those ECW shows are a bit of a blur to me after all these years. There's also one that he did with Rey Mysterio Jr. at Halloween Havoc 96 that I really enjoy. That's a really good match. And there's one he did with Chris Benoit from Hog Wild in 96. It goes to like a 25-minute draw. And the only problem with that is that they're doing it at Sturgis, which is at a biker rally, and the audience are not into the match at all. But if you just ignore that and you watch the work, it's a fantastic match. Dean Malenko's got a lot of really good matches, like really good matches. Um, there's one that Atlas put into our group chat, the Bulldogs match of him and his brother Joe against the Bulldogs, which was Johnny Smith and Dynamite Kid, and that was in 1988, excuse me, and that was a really good match as well. Davey Boy wasn't. No, it wasn't in 88. It was in 89, right at the end of 89. This is when Davey Boy and Dynamite just split up, and Johnny Smith had taken the bull. He's taken Davey Boy's spot in that tag team. This when he was the British Bruiser, Johnny Smith. But yeah, Dean Malenko was a really good worker, and he's supposed to be a really funny guy as well. Like supposed to be a really funny guy, but it never really translated onto television.
Yeah, fair dues. Everyone, make sure you go check out those matches. First and foremost, before we get into the nitty gritty, big up everyone who's watching live and some of the people who are watching on replay. We appreciate the support. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you really want to support us, consider becoming a member. You get access to our Discord and some exclusive content. And if you just subscribe, we've got hella content on the rest of the channel. We've got some of the Mandem in Philadelphia as we speak, still making content surrounding WrestleMania. We've got tons of vlogs in Mania, and we've got our WrestleMania reactions in Loading Bar night 1 and night 2. You know, even I make a very enthused appearance commentating on Sami Zayn and Gunter. Yeah, so there's a lot of content surrounding WrestleMania. Before we get, in fact, since we're on the topic of WrestleMania, quickly speaking, there's a few tidbits about Mania. We won't cover the full show. We'll save that for the main Wrestling's podcast, tuning on Friday for the full breakdown of WrestleMania. But there were some interesting things that happened at Mania. Cody finishing the story. But before we get into Cody finishing the story, Knowledge, you wanted to discuss a few comments that Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Paul Levesque made in regards to free agents. Speaking of free agents, Julia made an appearance at the NXT show. And Rossy Ogawa was heavily featured throughout WrestleMania, whether it was NXT, whether it was the main show of WrestleMania, he was in the crowd. There was a lot of free agents about, and Triple H had a few comments to make about free agents in wrestling. Knowledge, what are your thoughts on Triple H's comments? Who was he alluding to?
Oh, well, we can get onto that in a minute. You can. You just can't skip by WrestleMania. You were at the loading bar. So how was the show?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, WrestleMania at loading bar was amazing.
I watched all of WrestleMania night one. I didn't finish night. I haven't finished night two yet, but I did watch all of WrestleMania. Me and my son sat there and watched every single match the day after. But yeah, how was the live experience?
It was amazing. Big up to everyone who was there. A lot of people watched live. Night one was, I think night two was tremendously better than night one. I couldn't make it to night two at Loading Bar, but I was there for night one. And honestly, I'll be so real. If I wasn't there with everyone, I don't know how I would have made it through night one. There were some good moments in night one. I'd say Gunther, Sami Zayn was pretty good. The women's match was pretty solid. The main event, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, listen, his input was sensational in that main event. The actual match itself, I wasn't feeling the actual match itself. But Jimmy and Jey Uso, boy, I could save a whole. I'm gonna go. Do you know what? I can't even go off. Like, it'd be disingenuous, low-key, for me to like be angry because I have no investment in them too. But at the same time, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. Night two was much better than night one, which is kind of surprising because I thought night two had the weaker card on paper.
It did.
It just goes to show sometimes on paper like it doesn't tell the full story in it. But yeah, night two was much better than night one in my opinion. But yeah, I wouldn't say this is an all-timer. I still think last year's Mania overall was better than this one in my personal opinion.
Last year's Mania was night one was really good last year.
Night one was really good. Yeah, night one of last year's Mania was really good. Obviously, this one, I guess it ended. I think this is the inverse of last year. I think everyone came out of night one buzzing, and then obviously the ending of night two with Cody losing kind of like put a down on things. But with this one, as I say, it's the inverse where everyone left happy at the ending of the main event of night two. And yeah, the story's finished and they've planted seeds for future storylines going forward. I'm gonna address everyone in the comments. Big up everyone in the comments. CM Punk fucked around and found out. We're gonna get to that soon. Navy, big up Navy. He was actually tuning into the live stream.
Hey, Navy.
Yeah, he was teaching us a bit of German. I think Navy's from Germany or he's from a German-speaking country. So that's a good information. SDKOA, night one was meh. Night two, though, as you might say, Piquet.
I don't say that. Thank you very much.
Bailey versus Io was the best night of the pay-per-view. In ring-wise, Jimmy and SDK, Jimmy and Jay was a two-pack of ass. I'm from Italy. My bad. Italy. Damien Priest cashing in was legendary. But yeah, Knowledge, your quick thoughts on Mania, man.
That Jimmy and Jey Uso match, my son, before it started, he wanted to count how many super kicks that they were going to throw. I think he got to 19, so there were 19 super kicks in that match. This FYI. You know what? I will say this, yeah. I don't think that match was that bad. Like, the reason I say that was that I thought it was trash. Don't get me wrong, and don't get me wrong, it was like a -1-star match. But I don't know. People are saying it's the worst match in the history of WrestleMania, and I think that's a bit of a stretch. Like, I've seen some. You know what the mad thing is? You want to know something? I've not seen every single WrestleMania. You know that? I've not seen all of them. Really? I've seen one to. I saw one to like 26 6 was to 26, and I didn't watch 27 to like
Mm-hmm.
the one that Sting and Helmsley wrestled on. I watched that one, and then I said I'm never watching this shit again. And I didn't watch until last year. So there's quite a few WrestleManias I've never seen. But out of the ones I saw, which was 1 to 27, and that Sting and Triple H one from LA, I've seen worse matches than that. It was a shitty match, don't get me wrong. And I said last week when Mex was on there, I said this match is going to be my idea of wrestling hell, and it really was. It was the dialogue, and it was the face, it was the faces, and the super. It was just a bad. It was a bad match. But when people say it was the worst match they've ever seen, worst match, I think that was a bit of a stretch. I don't think it was. I thought it was shit, but I don't think it was like absolute fucking dog shit. They worked hard for what it's worth. You know, they tried. It just, yeah, it's not good. It's not that good, unfortunately. It's like, you know, the myth that they're the best tag team of all time and stuff like that. You know, that's, you know, that needs to stop, because I saw Matt and Nick have a match on BTE about 2 years ago that was better than that. And that was in their backyard. So, hey, you know, whatever. But the match, the show itself, night one, I thought it was it's whatever. I didn't enjoy the main event. I liked the finish of the main event. I thought it picked up towards the end, but I thought it was pretty boring. Like, you know, the show, you know, they're not making a show for me. So I sat there and watched it. My son was a bit bored. I watched a bit of night 2, and I watched the main event. I thought that was good, but I haven't finished it. So I'll probably finish that today or tomorrow. But overall, you know what? I'll tell you what's good about it, though, is that when Cody won, it's really nice seeing people happy. And the wrestling fans in the building were super happy. And I go online, and even people that aren't WWE fans, they're very happy. And it's very rare when you get people in wrestling united to be happy about something. So I think that was really nice. Me personally, I like Cody. I've actually got a Cody Rhodes t-shirt on today. I've got one on right now, an old one. But yeah, I'm not as invested in the whole thing as other people. But I mean, I do like Cody Rhodes, and I'm happy that he won. And you know, he deserves it. He's a top 8 face in the world of wrestling. He deserves the spot. You know,
Absolutely.
and it's and I say I'm not invested. I don't want to sound negative on it, because I do like Cody Rhodes, and I'm happy that he won. And he should have won as well. He should have won last year, but he should have won. But I mean, I you know, at the end of the day, you know, their fan base was super happy, and a lot of people were super happy, and I think that's what matters really. And I don't know what he does next, in terms of what's next. Walter's free now, isn't he? So maybe they'll do that or something. But I thought Seth Rollins looked good over the weekend. I thought he had, work-wise, I thought he had 2 good nights. I liked the Drew match, the one I watched. I thought him and Drew had a really good match. I think that was better than the one they had in Saudi. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, yeah, it was good. WrestleMania, you know, big business. We'll talk about the business of WrestleMania 40 another time. I don't have any numbers yet.
Yeah, I don't think the numbers have been out yet, so we'll talk about the business now as the information comes
from
down.
the Triple H era, the Paul Levesque era. They kept telling us. They kept telling us. Do you know what irritated me the most about that whole thing, though? Because I watched that main event today, and it was, oh, you know, I know he doesn't want to come out here, but please, and it's like, oh, shut up, you cunt. It's like the fucker come out yesterday, right, at the beginning of the show, and he done that. And how many pedigrees are on? I'm telling you, I don't want to see another pedigree fucking ever again. It's like fucking putting matches together and getting you guys to put the pedigree into me is too much. But them calling it the Triple H era, the Paul Levesque era, yeah, the ball's on these fuckers for a start to do that, because you know, I don't know. And Callis seems to think that she's got something on Triple H, but I don't know. They might regret that one, but we'll see going forward anyway. But I didn't like that. I didn't like that last part bringing Triple H. Hey, he doesn't want to come out here, but I'm going to make him come out here. It's like he's got no fucking problem coming out there, Cody. I tell you that shit. You know?
Yeah. Speaking of Cody, obviously they played a tremendous video package articulating just like where Cody's come from in the business. You know, with forming of AEW. I think there was a photo of him in the Young Bucks in the vignette. Just Cody as a business person in the wrestling business, just as a wrestling mind. I mean, this guy. I mean, we always talk about people maximizing their value, but not only did he maximize his value, he was a part of a movement that now essentially has gotten tons of wrestlers paid indirectly or directly. When we discuss some of the like greatest wrestling minds business in the wrestling business, Cody must be mentioned surely in that conversation when we talk about some of like the best minds in the business currently.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I don't know about that. I think my impression of Cody over the last little while is his ability to just know when it's time. I just think he's got a great awareness of everything that's going on around him. It's like even when he was in WWE and he decided to quit and he left, he saw the indie boom start. He saw that happening. He looked outside and he was like, okay, this is hot over there. Bullet Club is hot over there. And he decided to leave WWE at a time when he knew that the indie boom was starting. And that was smart of him. And the fact that, well, I don't want to, I mean, Tony Khan reached out to Matt Jackson first and he spoke to Matt and then Nick and then Cody and Kenny came after. So I don't want to give Cody all the credit for AEW. He obviously was a factor in it. But even him going to AEW, because he could have gone to WWE then in 2018. He had the option then. He decided to go with Tony Khan. And I think if you look at him in 2022 when he decided to leave and go back to WWE, and you know, we can talk about why he left and the stories about why he left and Brandy and all that stuff. The fact is that Tony Khan had a year option on him and didn't take up that year option. He let him go and he left and he went to WWE. The fact is that he went to WWE. He was the first guy to jump from AEW to WWE. And that was a really, really big thing at the time for him to do. Because then at that time, it was just one way. Everyone was leaving WWE to go to AEW. And he was the first guy to go the other way. And I think that looking back on it, that was such an important piece of history, really, when you look at it. Because AEW were doing really well at that point. They were neck and neck with WWE Raw. Dynamite was at that time in terms of, you know, their ratings were super close. The arenas, their business at the arenas was very similar as well. It was Cody, excuse me. What are you two doing? It was Cody that really forced that change in WWE and really pushed them ahead at that point. And that's something that we really need to give him credit for. Another thing we need to give him credit for is him being a top guy in WWE and actually him re-signing with WWE again. Because you think about it, to me, there's only one person that could help AEW get to their previous prominence again, and that's Cody Rhodes. I don't think there's anyone in WWE that if they went to AEW, I don't think that they'd really help AEW business besides Cody Rhodes. And that includes Roman Reigns and guys like that. I think Cody's the guy that if he went there, they would, you know, really have a shot at battling WWE again. But I think we really have to give him credit for just the smarts of knowing when it's time to go and knowing like this, how do I say it? Just looking at the landscape of pro wrestling and being smart and actually understanding what's going on. And I think that he's one of, I'm happy with the fact that he's, sorry, my dogs are really throwing me off. But yeah, I think I think it's really important right now, especially in wrestling right now, for people to actually look at what's going on outside and look at Cody and the success that he's had. Because if you look at what he was doing in AEW, he wasn't doing anything. The whole 2021 period, he did pretty much nothing. He had the feud with Go and he did the feud with QT Marshall and then Malachi Black and Andrade. But what did he really do? So if he would have stayed, nothing would have been going on, really. He wouldn't have ever been AEW champion because he didn't want the title. But I think it's really important for people to look at Cody and the success that he's having and being like, there's nothing, you shouldn't really be loyal to these promoters, is my point. It's like, you look at what's going on outside and you look at what's going on here, and you shouldn't be afraid to jump. There should be an opportunity for you, if you're a wrestler, to just be like, okay, I'm loyal to Tony Khan or I'm loyal to Triple H. It's really important for me in my career to jump, because look at him. If he hadn't left WWE all those years ago, where would he be right now? He'd be Dolph Ziggler or Kofi Kingston. He'd be in that low position still. Or maybe they would have released him later on. But he did the right thing. He left, and then he went to AEW, and now he came back, and he was super hot. He was super hot. He came back as a main event guy. you think about all these guys that have stuck around and now they've been in that WWE system for all those years. Those guys like Kofi Kingston and Biggie Langston and they've been there for so long. Imagine if they would have left and come back. You got to think about it like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. We have the age-old case of it. One of the guys you mentioned, Dolph Ziggler. We were begging him to like leave and come back, leave and come back. We don't know what it would have resulted. Obviously, like only time tells. But you know, I remember like people were like, "Oh, Dolph should leave," or "This person should leave." But yeah, I feel like Cody's somebody. Like I said, he was able to maximize his value wherever he went. Because I remember when he first left WWE to join the club, I was super set as a fan. I was skeptical because I was like, Bullet Club, I don't know. But then obviously the whole Bullet Club Civil War, Bullet Club is fine stuff. I was like, okay, this guy's got legs. And then I remember like, despite of how his AEW run ended, I remember that first feud he had in AEW with Jericho.
That was great.
He caught one of my honestly one of my personal favorite promos in recent memory, the undesirable to undeniable promo. He caught on Dynamite. That's like one of my personal favorite promos. And and then the brother versus brother match, you know, good brother versus brother match he had with Dustin. You know, the match where the iconic match where they were both bleeding. It was like he was able to just transform himself to a completely unrecognizable character to the Stardust character he was in WWE. And then now he's come back in and main evented financially from a business perspective, their biggest WrestleMania. You know, I've seen tons of moments on social media of people reacting to the match. I mean, he's like he became like one of the biggest stars in wrestling, if not the biggest star in babyface in wrestling that night. And to think he was just like a comedy character wearing face paint, like it's crazy to see his ascension.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to ask a question. But go on. Go.
I just wanted to say, I mean, you look at the growth that he's had over the last, let's say, 7 or 8 years, and where he is now. He should be a great symbol of people who are in a system and are maybe afraid to leave, and they look at what's going on around them, and maybe they're comfortable at home and they don't want to try and do something else, but maybe you should just give it a go sometimes. You know, it's like the wrestling business is at its best when people are moving around and they go from promotion to promotion. In the 80s and 90s, that was when wrestling was at its best, was when guys were just going back and forth, and you should never stay in one promotion throughout your whole career. And look at Cody. He went to WWE, and he was, as soon as he walked out there, he was a main event star. He was the biggest babyface in the company, bar none. And it's like I said, if he would have stayed in AEW, he would never have got to that prominence, because you go to another company and you get a brand new lick of paint, they used to say. You go there and you're fresh again. It's kind of like CM Punk. When CM Punk was on Collision and he weren't drawing shit, numbers were bad, he exhausted his entire fan base. He goes to WWE, brand new coat of paint. Look at him now. You know, guy does massive numbers, and you know he's fresh again. And I think it's really important that people use like that whole thing as just an example of just freshening up. And I'm talking about this because I want to talk about Seth Rollins. Because when I was watching that Seth Rollins thing, it looked to me, and I'm just saying this, it looks, that whole thing of him losing on Saturday, him losing on Sunday, and then him getting laid out in the main event, it looked to me like he was getting written off. So I don't know what's going on there. Like, am I wrong? That looked like a guy that was leaving the territory to me. Like the way they laid him out.
I don't know. I just don't see Seth leaving.
Oh, I'm saying this now because I don't know. I'm just looking at this and I'm like, the way Roman knocked him out when he came in, when he the Shield music, I was like, fuck. Like, they made him look like a bit of a dick. I was like, fuck. Is he? To me, that was the guy leaving the territory. Not saying he is, but he's a good example right now of a guy who, you know, his deal's coming up. He's never going to be a top guy in WWE. There's too many guys ahead of him. He's a guy that could do a fresh coat, fresh lick of paint, leave for a couple of years.
People in the comments says, I think he's taking time off. Looks more like Seth's taking time off as opposed to leaving.
He should do something, but I'm just saying, it's a good example of a guy who could do with a fresh coat of paint and going elsewhere. And then in 2 years or 3 years, he can go back and he'll be a way bigger star. Maybe they'll look at him as he's a top guy because he's fresh coming back in, if you know what I mean. It's the same way Cody was when he came back in as well. Movement's good. Movement is good for the wrestling business.
For sure. We got a few comments asking a few questions. Navy asked an interesting question. Was Cody the biggest draw in AEW alongside Jericho, Moxley, and Omega?
No, he wasn't. Biggest TV draw in 2021 was CM Punk, obviously. Before that, Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega was actually a really good TV draw back then. Cody was always a consistent draw, but he was never the biggest. He was never the biggest draw. Jericho at that point was doing really well as well. Jericho doesn't do that well nowadays, but back in 2021, he was actually a pretty good TV ratings draw. His main events would always do really well. Cody did a good number with Sammy in that ladder match, the last match he had in AEW. That did a good number. But I think Cody was one of those guys that exhausted his options in AEW. I think that was his issue.
That is fair. Let me see for some more comments right here. Look at Mustafa Ali. Give him a few years. If his stocks continue to rise, he will be a key player when he returns to WWE.
Oh yeah, definitely. Look at him. He's working hard. He's out there. Like I can see, he's a good example of a guy that can go back. At some point. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you good. I'm just reading. Yeah, I can hear you good. I'm just reading a few comments right now. Yeah, Mustafa Ali, I'm interested to see what he does in the independence and see what he does. But yeah, I just feel like
he's working Hiromu on the weekend.
Yes, he is. Windy City Riot card, boy.
That card looks good.
That card looks really good. I think we will definitely talk about that the following week for sure. Yes. Naito, I think Moxley's been phased out of I don't say phased out, but he's less emphasized on AEW TV right now anyways. Like he hasn't got any prominent storylines. So it's very easy for him to, work Japan, be their champion for a while. Because it doesn't seem like it seems very intentional that they haven't kept Moxley on screen. It seems very intentional. They've had him doing side missions with CML and so on and so forth. So it feels like, we're very much gearing up for Moxley to have a prominent role in New Japan. That's my personal.
Yeah. Like that to me as well.
Yeah, which I think is needed because Naito right now at this point in time in his career, boy oh boy. But yeah, do you have any more thoughts on WrestleMania as well? Any other things about WrestleMania that stood out to you?
Nah, not really.
Fairs. But before Mania even started, there were some interesting comments made from Paul Levesque. I believe this is on one of either one of the pre-shows or one of the various pre-WrestleMania streams. There was a quote, a very feisty quote from Triple H, which reads as this. This is in regards to free agents. If they're not here to be all in on this, like when I see people that will come out of trying to make it and then they pick a job where they go, well, they work less, the schedule's lighter. All right, then I'm glad I didn't get you. Because if you're not in it for the grind, at that point early in your career, you have no business being here. Now, people have speculated who this may or may not be about. A lot of people have speculated that this is about certain free agents that have not signed for WWE. Maybe Will Ospreay, maybe Okada. A lot of people have pointed towards Will Ospreay. First of all, do you think that these claims were at someone specific? If so, who? And do you think Triple H is off base if these claims are directed towards someone?
Well, I'm sure that they're aimed at Will Ospreay and or Okada. Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you echoing? Because it might be me. I might mute my mic if that's.
Yeah, I'm echoing. And it's
okay, that might be me. Go on.
Yeah, I think. Excuse me. Can you go, please? Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's talking about Ospreay and Okada, but I mean, I bring this up because I think it's important that we say this because he's gotten to. and he's losing the free agents battles, and he shouldn't be, because in their heads they're WWE, and that's what they tell people on a daily bit. Sorry, give me a second. Come in. Go. Luna, in.
Dog intermission.
Sorry. Dog goes away. One of the dogs anyway. Got two others in here, but they're not bothering me like the other one. Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? Sorry, I don't remember.
You were commenting on the free agent battle. And
yes.
how you shouldn't be concerned about that.
Yes. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, he's gotten to, right? He has failed in signing these people, and he's gotten to, and I understand he's upset, and, you know, he's saying these things. You know, people being afraid of the grind. You know, to say Will Ospreay of all people is afraid of the grind is absurd, considering how much that guy works and how hard he works as well. But I'm bringing this up because it's pretty obnoxious for you to be angry at someone for taking more money to work less, don't you think? Would you work for a company if they paid you less and wanted you to work more?
Absolutely.
What would you do?
Absolutely. I mean, you work so you make money, so you have an easier life. So anything that makes your life easier.
The ball's on this fucker. Hold on, give me a sec. What is it? Hang on.
But in the meantime, I think the whole Triple H thing is interesting because it's the first time where we've seen him, like, I think WWE in general are very coy with their like comments, that they're not Tony Khan. They don't really express emotion like that. They don't really like express their feelings in regards to certain topics. So the fact that Triple H came out of the bat and was like, hey, the fact that he made like a comment like that was pretty surprising to me, because Triple H is usually quite coy with these things.
You know, he has his moments. Remember at that presser in last year when he was making those comments about the fact that AEW had failed Jade Cargill in their training of her. Do you remember when that was his way of saying that she wasn't any bloody good? And
yeah, I remember that.
He blamed it on them. But I just find it really ignorant for him to say such a thing, as in, you know, oh, you know, these, you know, you're running away from the grind. It's like, you know, pay people more. You know, we're at a point now where it's like, you know, it's as well. He knows better as well, because the whole grind that they talk about, that he mentions in WWE, there's a lot of people that died from working that grind. And don't get me wrong, it's not the same as it was then. But WWE have always had the reputation of overworking their wrestlers. Like, and you know, a lot of those guys back then, they got addicted to all sorts of stuff, and you know, it wasn't good for their health. And some of them, they took those bad habits that they got on the road in WWE because they were overworked, and they never kicked those habits. And at the end of the day, it killed them. And he should know better than that to say such a thing, that someone shouldn't be afraid of the grind. You know, it's ridiculous for him to say that. And another thing that he said that annoyed me was, you know, well, you know, they want to take lighter schedules. That's why I didn't pick you. No, you did pick them. They didn't pick you. They didn't pick you, bro. Like, you know, and he also did the whole thing of, oh, you know, they're not ready for, we don't know if they'd make it in the big time. And that really annoys me too, because you know that they could work in the big time, because that's why you wanted them. That's why you wanted them. You offered them money. It's like, you knew and you're butthurt, and I get that, but it's chatting shit at the end of the day. It's like, it's chatting shit. And he's not the only one as well, because CM Punk did the whole thing of making fun of Will Ospreay getting the tattoo of the all-in number.
Yeah, I heard that. But I think with Punk, I just think he has a vitriol towards like AEW in general.
His wife has got the date she won the Divas title tattooed on the back of her neck. I don't know I know what's worse personally, but you know, the guy is just horrendous, really. You know, for him to make fun of someone like Will Ospreay for getting that on his arm when his wife has got something very similar. It's like, make it make sense, NK. Make it make sense is what they say these days. But I don't know. If Triple H wants to sign people, you've got to fucking do your best, mate, and offer people more money.
Keep going. Just bear with me 1 second.
Yeah. If you want the best to come to you, you know, you've got to offer them the money. You're competing with someone who is actually willing to work with people and their work-life balance at the end of the day, you know? And it's like, you can't use the whole WWE thing. We're WWE. That isn't enough anymore. I said this a few weeks ago. It is not enough to offer just that to people when there's someone over there who's offering more money. And the fact that you get to work less, I've said it before. If I got offered a job, it doesn't matter if it was a dream company that I wanted to work for. If they offered me less money than the company I'm working at now, I wouldn't be going anywhere. Not especially if I had to work more. It's not happening.
I mean, a title win or attendance number tattoo, I know what I'm getting.
The Divas title, the Divas title win on the back of her neck. To me, I wouldn't get either personally, but to me, they're the same thing. You shouldn't mock someone for getting an attendance when they were one of the most heavily advertised people on the card. Obviously, means a lot to Will Ospreay, and I'm sure it means a lot to AJ Lee as well. But don't mock Will Ospreay for doing it when your wife has done the same thing pretty much.
Yeah. It's interesting because obviously like WWE were in for these talent, but it's like WWE in a position where their business is just like leagues above like AEW, leagues above like even what they've done previously. So for me, it's like obviously it's ego. It's like you want talent, but the talent that WWE have got right now, even the PR that WWE have got right now is leagues above what AEW have right now. So when Triple H was like made that comment, I was like, that's interesting because like for the first time, I won't say for the first time, but this is like it's been a clear margin between like WWE and AEW. I understand if this comment was made like 2021 where AEW was like really booming and stuff like that, but right now it seems like WWE are just in a lane of their own right now. So signing a Will Ospreay, and plus AEW signing a Will Ospreay doesn't dent WWE's pockets in any way, shape, or form.
They don't need anybody. WWE don't need anybody. They don't need anybody. They could lose a lot of that. I mean, they could lose a lot more talent. It wouldn't matter. They're so indoctrinated in pop culture. They are fine. They are fine, and they'll be fine for a long time. Their business is incredible. What they're doing right now, it's pretty impressive. Never seen anything like it.
No, for sure. In terms of just like their as a commercial entity, WWE's growth is just is ridiculous. It's
ridiculous. I said on here a couple of weeks ago about the fact that guys were more famous in previous generations, but like I said at the time, I even said on this show that's just because the media and television are completely different. The company now is bigger than it's ever been before. It just so happens that in the 80s when Hulk Hogan, or in the 90s when Steve Austin were the top stars, the media was different, and there was less media outlets, and there was less celebrities and less avenues to watch different television and streaming services. So they're obviously more famous than Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, but the company right now,
and even to make a parallel between the wrestling industry and the film industry, for example, like the big studio right now is Marvel Disney. Back in the day, for example, films were carried by the big movie stars. And there are movie stars today, but the Arnold Schwarzeneggers, the Sylvester Stallone's, like people would go to the cinema specifically to see them. Now more than ever in film, studios are more popular than ever. People see the name.
Oh really?
Yeah. It's the thing now.
I don't know these things.
Yeah. If you got the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the big one where it's like, oh my God, I'm going to see an MCU movie. I don't care who's in it. I'm there to see their property. Directors are ever more popular than ever. Like nowadays, you see marketing, like the director's name might be bigger than the actor's name, depending on who the director is. So I feel like we're in an era where when it comes to media, the iconography is bigger than the individual stars at some points. And obviously we can say this with WWE, but I think in media in general, like we're in an era where just like the branding is the like key thing that people are going to, rather than the stars themselves. Of course, the stars contribute. Nobody's going to watch a match. Nobody's going to go to a wrestling show with like two jabronis, Steve from Stevenage or something like that. People are going to watch like people with actual draws, but it's the company name that matters as well. So, yeah.
Oh, it's the company now. I mentioned this in the Discord a couple of weeks ago, but AEW signed Bryan Danielson, Edge, Sasha Banks, and I don't remember who else they've signed. They signed a few, but it just shows you how big WWE is because it hasn't made a dent in WWE's business whatsoever. And it hadn't really improved the AEW's overall business as well, really, when you think about it. The fact that they got those big stars, it's because they care about the brand. They're fans of the brand. The superstars, I guess, are they're just a part of the overall presentation of the brand. There's brand loyalty these days, not loyalty to any particular star. Like when Hulk Hogan left WWE and he went to WCW, that was a detrimental effect to WWE, and it was a big thing for WCW at that time to get Hulk Hogan, and he made an overnight improvement to the business. And nowadays, that's not really the case.
Yeah. Speaking of WCW, there is a tactic that AEW is employing right now that, to me, a lot of people screams WCW or certainly screams Monday Night Wars. Yes, it is the headline of this episode of Commissioner's Corner. For those of you who have been living under a rock, it was announced, I believe, on Collision that the Young Bucks will be addressing what happened at All In Wembley. Now, All In Wembley, CM Punk and Jungle Boy Jack Perry got into a very heated altercation, which eventually led to the suspension of Jungle Boy, which we have not seen him on AEW Dynamite or AEW programming since, and the firing of CM Punk. Apparently, this brawl, in quotes, had Tony Khan fearing for his life, and for other people in the locker room was just an absolute nightmare mess. Now, this brawl remained relatively unaddressed until CM Punk's recent interview with Ariel Helwani, where he detailed as much as he could around the brawl because there were several NDAs signed around it, but he alluded to what was happening around the brawl and made a few disparaging comments about AEW. One of the biggest quotes coming out of that interview is that AEW is not a business. And
what is it?
And on Collision, it was announced that the Young Bucks will be addressing this. Now, the Young Bucks are currently undergoing a heel gimmick as EVPs. So I think my personal opinion at the time was, oh, okay, this is a great way to, get some heel heat. The Young Bucks have always been very referential of the ongoings of the wrestling business. This is nothing new to them. And then it was reported by it was tweeted by Dave Meltzer and several other journalists within the wrestling industry that no, this in fact is not a work. This is not in fact a gimmick. They will be airing legitimate footage of what happened of Wembley, and they will be airing like what actually happened on Dynamite. This screams WCW to me. This screams this is something that does not need to be aired on television. Now, if you want to disparage, if you want to combat CM Punk's comments, I'm sure Tony Khan has access to various different wrestling publications, even TMZ, for example. A lot of businesses leak footage. When things get leaked online, regarding violent altercations or regarding matters that we should not know about, whenever backstage footage gets leaked, it's always it's usually authorized by somebody. There was a way Cody Khan or AEW could have leaked the footage online without announcing it on their programming. The reason why I'm against this is because this CM Punk's comments happened outside AEW programming. Fair enough. You address the firing of CM Punk on Collision because that makes sense. The audience are expecting to see CM Punk on Collision. You announce him being fired to tell the audience that he will not be around anymore. It's how the program. Airing backstage footage of a fight that has nothing which involves somebody who's not contracted to your product makes no sense to me. All it does is bring more attention to the situation and less attention to the actual product itself. And CM Punk is not contracted or employed by AEW anymore. I don't see the reason for doing this other than dispelling some disparaging comments CM Punk made, which, if you feel the need to do, can be done by leaking footage online. This does not need to be addressed on Dynamite. Acknowledge What are your thoughts on this? And have you seen anything like this?
NK's gone.
I'm back.
He's coming back, is it?
Yeah,
No, he's
okay.
back.
Oh, so did you not hear the last part of what I said? I said,
No,
last thing
I
I said,
didn't.
have you seen so what were your thoughts on what are your thoughts on AEW supposedly airing this footage of All In, and have you seen anything like this in wrestling before?
I've never seen anyone leak footage of a fight, but I mean, you know, WWE and WCW used to do this stuff all the time in terms of, you know, leaking information and leaking bits regarding lawsuits to media and stuff like that. Even, you know, it's funny you bring up CM Punk because CM Punk on that podcast spoke about the fact that AEW's injury protocol is so poor compared to Lem thinks this will work. I'm telling you, I've been told that they're in the footage for what it's worth. I mean, I've been told that they're in the footage. But I mean, yeah, Punk on the podcast said that he mentioned AEW's injury protocol being so bad. They paid for his injury, but apparently he had to organize rehab himself. And he said that WWE's are so superior and that they've done all of it for him. I bring that up because the CM Punk in 2014 actually sued at WWE for having poor injury protocol. Just want to bring that up to add to his things that he says that he should really be careful because he comes across as such a hypocrite a lot of the times. And I think CM Punk is super talented, but there's a lot going on with that guy, especially after that podcast. He said a lot of things. I was on there last week when I said he said a lot of things that I agreed with and I believe him, but a lot of the stuff he said wasn't true. Just wasn't true. And he purposely said those things that weren't true as well. But like I said, I've seen these promoters do stuff like this all the time. Do you know that when Punk had sued WWE, they sent, because he said in the Rumble, he said the Rumble in 2014, he said that he had a tennis ball size swelling on his back, and he didn't want to work, and they made him work. And you know, WWE sent dozens of pictures to Dave Meltzer and Wade Keller, I believe it was Wade Keller, of CM Punk's back during that match, letting them know that there was no tennis ball size swelling on his back. They would do stuff like that. But as far as petty,
Just quickly, just an aside. Speaking of Dave Meltzer, Dave mentioned I think on the Wrestling Observer that CM Punk would quite frequently contact him in regards to information about ratings and so on and so forth. Situation Dave, I wanted to add that tidbit there.
Yeah, I know that CM Punk reached out to Dave. I know that when CM Punk was out of his ankle injury, he reached out to Dave because Dave had the same break, and I know that he communicated with Dave throughout that whole period as well. And they spoke about Dave's injury recovery. But I mean, yeah, but I mean, these wrestler promoters, you know, Eric Bischoff would do stuff like, put it this way: if Eric Bischoff had this footage in the 90s, he would have aired this footage. I have no doubt in my mind, Eric Bischoff would have aired this footage. I don't think WWE would have aired the footage. I think they would have leaked the footage to Dave and other people, but I don't think they would have aired it. But at the same time, they did petty stuff in the 90s. Vince McMahon once bought a full page ad in the New York Times during the Monday Night War, and the ad was about WCW and Ted Turner trying to put them out of business. You know, this if that happened nowadays, if Tony Khan did that nowadays, wrestling fans would look at him like he was a sucker, he was weak. But that's the kind of shit that people did back then. Vince McMahon went on television with a black eye after Bret Hart punched him in the face, and he went on television and he said, "Oh, you know, I let him hit me, and if it was a real fight, I'd beat him up." You know, that's the kind of pettiness we're talking about here. But I mean, I just want to say I wouldn't hear the footage. No way would I hear the footage. I don't think it's a good idea at all. But I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and I'm trying to be fair because I just don't think this is a good idea. But I'm trying to look at it from Tony Khan's perspective, okay? And you gotta follow me here. Okay. I might fail at this, but I'm really trying here, okay, to understand what's going on over there, okay? So you got a guy who is on this podcast and he's saying really negative stuff about you, and a lot of it isn't true, right? Because he implied that he quit. Do you remember that? He implied that he quit
Yeah.
AEW. When obviously that isn't the case. You know that isn't the case. But he implied that he quit. He implied that he never was physically aggressive towards Tony Khan. He implied that he was calm when he approached Jungle Boy at Wembley. There's a few things that he said that, from what I understand, aren't actually true, but we'll find out anyway. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, so you got this guy, he's going out there and he's saying this stuff and he's really shitting on you. And if you go back from 2022 August, all right, from the brawl out thing, Tony Khan never said anything. All right, obviously he never said anything. The Bucks never said anything. Kenny never said anything. Hangman never said anything. Everything was always coming from Punk. All right, Punk was the guy who reached out to Dave. Well, Punk didn't do it. Other people in Punk's camp reached out to Dave and gave Dave their version of events of what happened back there. If you read those reports that Dave Meltzer wrote at that time, they were from the Punk side of things. They were the ones that brought up the dog, and they were the ones that, brought up the fact that they came charging into the room with the HR person, Mega. It was all from his perspective, and that's fine, all right. But you look at it from Tony Khan's perspective, right, and you think, okay, I never say anything. The Bucks haven't said anything publicly about you, and neither has Hangman Page, other than that promo they did together in May of 2022, right? And neither has Kenny Omega. But then you've got this guy who says stuff, and he says stuff a lot. So I'm thinking about, and I'm like, okay, I get why you'd want to do something back. I just don't understand the benefit of airing the footage
On Dynamite. That's the
television. I don't understand.
I think if you want to release the footage, fine. Businesses have done this before. Fine. But I feel like there's we see it in football all the time, right? Where there'll be like, a club will never air like footage, but there'll be something where people inside this, let's say Arsenal, for example, a manager's falling out with a player. There will be reports about, hey, an insider at the club says this, and we know the insiders are basically just representatives of either.
Yeah, of course.
It's representative of either party. So these back and forth games aren't exclusive to wrestling, and they're not a bad thing. If you wanted to release the footage and the footage was to miraculously appear online, we would all know that it came from AEW's camp.
Oh yeah,
but the discourse would remain online, and the people who give a shit about this stuff, where the people are going to be involved. There are people, yes, most likely the AEW fan base is probably a more tapped in fan base and a more in tune fan base than your average WWE fan, right? Having said that, there are people who just want to watch the wrestling for the wrestling and the product for the product. I don't see how you're dedicating time, whether it be a minute, 5 minutes, which could be allocated to ongoing to current stars on the product. You're dedicating this time to address a situation involving someone who is no longer employed for you. And all that's going to do is create a back and forth discourse between CM Punk fans, and it's unwanted attention on your flagship show. It will pop a rating. That's one thing it will do. It should pop a rating. But aside from that, I do not see the long-term benefits of doing this on your programming. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. I have no issue with playing the narrative game, because narratives are important. Narratives are important, and
Definitely.
I feel like it does have a lot of bad PR right now, whether self-inflicted or not. That's for the comments section to discuss. But so if you want to dispel some of the negative PR on you, by all means do that. That's what you should do. Just not on TV.
Okay.
Just not on TV.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. When I first heard about this, I was so confused by it. And I was like, surely not. And then I asked around, and then Dave tweeted, and Brian Alvarez tweeted, and other Sean Ross Saps, he mentioned that they're going to air it. And I asked people, and I've been told that they're going to air this footage, all right? What? You're going to read these comments? I feel like...
Sure, yeah. I'm just going to read some of these comments because a lot of them are flying in right now. Big up MAAA. I feel like Punk's leaks came much after the initial Brawlout leaks. The initial Brawlout leaks were definitely not in Punk's favor because that Dogtooth leak, for example, was months after, and everyone laughed it because it sounded desperate.
The dog leak came in maybe October or November 2022. Before that, the only thing that was reported was the fact that there was a brawl and the fact that it was in front of the HR. We didn't really know what had happened throughout that whole period. We didn't really know what had happened besides it was a brawl, and the Bucks brought the HR manager to the dressing room because Punk had said at the press conference that his door was always open. And if anyone wanted to speak to him, they should come and speak to him because his door was always open. They bought the HR manager, and obviously, we don't know what happened at that point. We're led to believe from the Punk side that the Bucks showed up and they kicked off. I don't believe that's to be the case because I would never bring a HR manager to squash something and then start a fight. This doesn't make sense, but we'll never know at the end of the day anyway. But yeah, the stuff with Punk and the dog and Ace Steel, we didn't know about the bite until ages after. That came a long time after that, really. But I mean, going back to the whole thing about the video, it just makes me think, okay, so you're going to hear this footage, okay? And to me, it most likely will bring Jack Perry back to television, all right? They've got Jack Perry at the Chicago show on Saturday, and I'm assuming, and I could be wrong because in my head, this makes sense. And to be fair, a lot of the time with AEW booking, some stuff, this doesn't make logical sense. So I'm thinking, okay, it makes sense that you'd hear this. Jack Perry's in Chicago, and then maybe next Wednesday or at Dynasty, he comes out. Fine, fair enough. Surely there was another way to do this and bring him back without putting CM Punk's fight on television. But I want to say this, okay? What do you expect to gain from this what do they expect to gain from this is my main thing, because what is on the tape? All right. What is on the tape that is so illicit that you want to air it? Okay. You want to show everyone, do you want to show everyone that what Punk said was inaccurate, as in that he started the fight, because he gave us the impression that Jack Perry started it. Okay. So is this tape going to show us that he actually started the fight? Okay. NK, hold on for a minute. Okay. So is this video going to show us that CM Punk started a fight with Jack Perry, beat him up, and then tried to fight Tony Khan, and then he got pulled back, right? And that was it. All right. Question for you. How does that make CM Punk look bad? Seriously, how does it make CM Punk look, other than the fact that he's a liar?
Yeah, the only way that AEW could benefit from this, and this is highly improbable based on the information we know, is that if CM Punk swings for Jack Perry's first and Jack Perry beats the crap out of him, that's the only way. That's the only way where the footage is like, oh my god, look how badass Jack Perry is. He beat up CM Punk. Yay! Yeah. Like
that's the only
benefit to airing this.
Yeah. That is the only thing in my head why you would air it, is if he tried to fight Jack Perry and then Jack Perry beat him up and then Samoa Joe came along and saved his life. That is the only logical explanation as to why you would want to air this. And even then, I wouldn't air it. I wouldn't air it anyway. But
even then, I wouldn't air it. But if that is the case, if the scenario proposing is the case, I would definitely leak it.
Oh yeah, 100%. I would definitely leak that too.
I would absolutely leak it. Like, and I'm sure, like, put it this way, right? Put it this way. If Eric Bischoff had footage of a WCW star beating up a now WWF star, he would leak it.
Oh, yeah. No, he'd air it. He'd air it.
But even now, I just don't see the need of like putting this on television. And the scenario proposing is probably not what happened. Like in all reality, it's not what happened. We would have had a few more damning reports if that was the case. If it was like a real somebody got beat up badly, like we would have.
Do you remember the tweets from the makeup artist from that day?
No, what was the tweets from the makeup artist?
All right, so the makeup artist, I don't remember her name because she deleted the tweets, all right, but they've resurfaced recently. But at the time, I remember seeing them. And she said that Punk tried to do a guillotine. He tried to get Jack in a choke, and Jack actually got Punk in a choke, and he choked Punk, and then it was Joe that stopped the fight. But then she deleted the tweet. Okay, now I don't know if that happened, but I remember that is this popular. So maybe that happened, but we'll. If that's the case, well, then you'd want to hear the footage. You'd want to get the footage out there. But like I said, I just don't know the benefit, because really, what is it going to do for? I mean, CM Punk fans, they're pretty. I don't like to speak about CM Punk, and I don't like to speak about CM Punk a lot, because I feel like people ask me questions about CM Punk, and I feel like whatever I say about CM Punk, even if it's backed up with evidence, it doesn't really matter to people. They just love CM Punk, so it doesn't matter what you say. They're just going to go along with whatever they feel. People are very emotionally invested in CM Punk. I mean, if he got beaten up at All In, I don't think it would matter anyway. I mean, we've seen him lose fights before, so I don't think it would matter to his fan base anyway. But if he did beat up Jack Perry and he did lunge at Tony Khan, that isn't doing AEW any favors. That's doing CM Punk a favor, in my opinion. If you're going to hear that footage and it shows that, it might show that he's a liar, but
it will galvanize. See, it will do so much irreparable damage. It will do so much damage if CM Punk goes in there, lunges at Tony Khan, beats up Jack Perry, because that's like, oh my god, Tony Khan looks like a coward, Jack Perry looks like a coward, and it makes Punk look like an even bigger badass, and it gives him so much ammunition for like future promos and stuff like that. It's just not a good look for me. Like I listen, I hope and pray that this is all a massive swerve, and and at best case scenario, it's a stupid Young Bucks reenactment. I would love to be trolled, but from all the reports, it seems serious. I don't know. Okay, long term, let's say if the footage is damning for AEW, do you think this will have very long-term consequences on AEW's perception? Because let's be real, the last year and a half, let's just say since Brawl Out, the perception of AEW has been taking several hits, whether it's obviously the CM Punk stuff, whether it's ticket sales for whatever reason. AEW is doing fine, but their perception isn't the greatest right now. Do you see this having severe ramifications for AEW's perception and potential business going forward if this backfires?
Not severe. I mean, AEW doesn't have the goodwill with the wrestling audience that WWE has. I mean, I've said it before. I mean, the owner of the company was exposed as a sexual predator a while ago, and it didn't affect business. In fact, it made business better for whatever reason. So it didn't help. It didn't hurt them in any way. But I mean, as far as AEW, they don't have as much goodwill with their audience. But I don't know. It's really hard for me to even say whether or not what's going to happen, because I've never been in this position where I can actually analyze and say, well, this happened previously, because that's usually what I do. I can go, 20 years ago or 30 years ago, it happened here or there. I can't actually do that in this instance. I've never known of a fight backstage to air on television. So it's going to be hard to say. I mean, I don't think it will have a long-term effect. I think right now, okay, I'm going to say this. A part of me thinks that the Young Bucks wouldn't get involved in this if it wasn't beneficial to the whole situation. They're not idiots. So I trust the Young Bucks in that they don't do things that make them look stupid, if you know what I mean.
Didn't Kenny
Omega attached their name to this?
Yeah, didn't Kenny Omega have like a little coy deleted tweet thing after the CM Punk Irawani interview? I don't know if it was a real thing, but it was like a
no. But he said he was hacked. Remember? He said he was hacked.
Yeah, and I
don't remember what he said. What did he say? I don't even remember. I remember it being quite amusing, but I don't remember what he said.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what he said. I wish I screenshot it. We deleted it.
Yeah, I wish I did.
But yeah, I think this situation is just. I don't see even at best case scenario. I see it being something that, like best case scenario. If it's the scenario we outlined before, best case, I see it being something humorous and maybe boosting Jack Perry stocks a little bit. Best case scenario. Worst case scenario, AEW's a laughing stock for like for a couple months, which is not what they need right now. Which is
No, it's
honestly
not.
it's not what they need right now.
It's not. It's not. I think that the chances of this backfiring are a lot more likely than them actually benefiting from this. To me, it's maybe 70-30 at this stage of this backfiring on them. We'll find. I mean, today's Monday, so I mean, it's like we're going to find out in a couple of days. I would hope that tomorrow I wake up and I get a message or something saying that they've changed their mind and that they're not going to hear it because, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gung ho in this. I mean, I see some people. I mean, don't get me wrong. I actually want to see the tape from a selfish perspective. I actually want to see the tape, But like I said, I prefer if I just got that email to me. I don't need it to air on Wednesday night or anything like that. I just, yeah, I don't know about. I don't know. It's going to be uncharted waters on Wednesday night anyway. So I always like when something new happens that I can study. So
It's definitely going to be an eventful news week. Okay.
do you know what I was going to say? I just want to say, go on, read the comments out. Go on.
All right, cool. Yeah, we have a ton of comments about this situation, so like I'm a blaze through them as fast as possible. But thank you everyone for commenting. I really appreciate you guys. So let's get into the comments. Let's see. Okay, big up Lem. He's a member. Make sure you become a member if you are interested in supporting the channel. It's a confusing play. Generally, I feel like they will start. Then FTR will stop the playback to set up their angle for Dynamite.
Well, that makes FTR heels because I want I want to see the footage. You can't come out there and stop. It should be the Bucks that come out there and stop it. They're the heels.
Yeah, but they're the ones presenting the footage. So boy, and also, okay, if the angle does like paint Baden Punk in a bad light, doesn't that undercut? Okay, if for the angle to be perceived well, the Young Bucks have to come out the other side of this looking good, which defeats their whole characters of being heels.
Good point.
It defeats. Big up Lem again. At Disney, the footage from All In headline does seem intentionally ambiguous if it's been confirmed otherwise. Let's see. I big up Navy. The footage would only make sense if Jack Perry bitched Punk. Yeah.
That is it.
That's it.
And if that footage shows that Punk goes for him, and then all of a sudden Jack Perry gets him and chokes him out, and then Samoa Joe is panicking, trying to get Jack Perry off of CM Punk. He's fearing for CM Punk's life, and Samoa Joe is seen putting all of his might and strength and might into pulling Jack Perry off. And this wild man Jack Perry won't let go of this choke on CM Punk. That's different. That is different. But I don't know if that's the case.
Also, quick question for you. I know some people in the comment section might be wondering: are there any legal ramifications for AEW airing this footage?
No, I've already asked. No, there's no legal ramifications for airing this footage whatsoever. You know, I want to say this though. It's crazy that we've got to this point, though. It's
ridiculous.
It's crazy that we got to this point. And when AEW got announced, when they announced that they were starting the promotion, I remember as soon as they announced that they started that promotion, I just remember all of a sudden they hadn't even booked a show or anything like that. I just remember the negativity online was just there already, from the grifting podcasters that weren't really grifting. Cornette was, but Bischoff was quite positive at the time. And they all wanted jobs back then though, didn't they? So they were positive, and and stuff like that. And over time, when they realized they weren't getting jobs, it got really negative. But it's crazy because you look back on it now, and you had an alternative wrestling promotion, a big budget one, and even before the first show aired, the vitriol online was crazy. That's when the tribalism actually started, and you had WWE fans and AEW fans literally just going out. And then the grifting podcast has done help, and then over time it's got worse, and it's got worse, and it's got worse, and now we're here. And it's amazing that we actually got to this point that CM Punk and you know, I'm not even going to blame the elite on this. I'm actually just going to say it's Tony Khan, because you know, he could have stopped all this years ago and he never did, and now we're here. And the Bucks, to be fair, the Bucks and Kenny Omega and Hangman, they don't say anything. It's Tony Khan that is doing this. So I'm very disappointed at how all this has ended up. Very disappointed, and it could have all been avoided many years ago.
Many years ago. Let's see. They can't make someone that people have made their minds up about look any worse.
Yeah. You're not going to change people's minds. It's true. You're not going to change people's minds. If people don't like Punk, it is what it is. If people don't like the elite in AEW, they're not gonna. It doesn't matter what they see. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Big up Dean Hallett. He's also a member. They would not air it if Punk was not lying, but I did say in the Discord about Jack Perry returning too. Yeah, I think Jack Perry's return is imminent at this point. He was even doing Young Bucks moves at a recent New Japan show, and the Young Bucks have been like very public with their support of Jack Perry. So I think he will be back, and there were even rumors about him joining the EVP stable before months ago. So I think his return is imminent, but I think there are less convoluted ways to have Jack Perry debut again. And by the way, I would have been all for them like making references to the All In situation. I would have been all for that. Tongue in cheek, trolly promos. Yeah, I kicked out your favorite wrestler. We love that stuff. That's a part of wrestling. But footage, but more back to the comments. It would be like, why'd you fire Punk? One of your draws. I think that's a reference to earlier comment. Big up Finn Balor. I don't think that's actually Finn Balor, but big up Finn Balor.
Oh, wow. I love Prince Devitt.
Prince Devitt. Even if the footage shows Jack Perry swinging on Punk and beating Punk up, it will open up people asking why wasn't he fired too?
Hey, for self-defense. If Punk swung first, self-defense.
And plus, Jack Perry's been essentially exiled from AEW, so he's been punished. He's
in fucking House of Torture. Can't get worse than that.
Yeah, he's been punished. Let's see. If Punk got beat up, then it would make TK a liar by default, because why would you fear for your life?
If he got beat up, and then let's say that that Joe managed to get the savage Jack Perry off of CM Punk, and Punk gets off the floor and he's holding his neck and he's embarrassed and he lunges at Tony Khan. Well, then, you know.
And wasn't I might be off base here, but my understanding of the situation is that the altercation with Jack Perry and the altercation here with Tony were like separate events.
They were separate. One finished, and then
so they were separate events.
Tony Khan. So yeah, I mean, after him and Jack Perry grappled, or whatever the fuck happened, I don't know. We'll find out. But yeah, apparently the story is that he lunged at Tony Khan, and that's why Tony Khan fought for his life, and that's why he was fired with cause. He didn't quit.
Yeah. Big up Alex. I'm not going to butcher your surname. Apologies, but AEW is at WCW 2.0. Wouldn't be surprised if it leaks before the show.
AEW is definitely not like WCW. Just want to say, I lived through WCW. I'm watching WCW right now. Nothing like it.
I think the big up. Yeah, I think this is in reference to the makeup artist. People came out and said she was caught making stuff up and deleting it too. Big up Dean. CM Punk is a pathological liar at this point, and Punk in WWE now because he was fired. He politicked against WWE for years just to run back after bridges were burned. Yeah. Big up Navy. Samoa Joe looks like the best person out of all of this. Yeah. Apparently, this is the reason why he's the champion. Apparently, this is apparently. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but apparently, like, Joe won a lot of good faith after because of how he handled the situation, and this I won't say it's directly the reason why he won the title, but definitely put him in good stead to eventually.
Well, he managed to get Punk out there. If Punk didn't go out there at Wembley, that would have been PR nightmare if he didn't go and work. It's good that he went out there and worked. I just want to say that he was quite professional in going out there and working. Some people wouldn't have bothered.
Yeah.
Do you know after Bret Hart beat up Shawn Michaels in 1997, Shawn walked out the building and he went to Nitro that night. It was only up the road Nitro was being taped, and Bret beat him up. And he had segments that night on Raw, and he left, and they had to rewrite the show as the show was going on. That's an example of someone getting in a fight and just walking out and saying, "Fuck it, I'm done." But Punk, he worked, so good on him.
Yeah, big up Alex again. Funny, it's just like WCW leaking Mankind winning the title, and it will backfire at AEW.
This is much worse.
Yeah,
this airing this footage is a lot worse than Tony Schiavone giving a spoiler. They were doing that anyway back then. They were always giving out Raw spoilers from taped episodes of Raw. It was stupid though. It was really, they actually thought that people wouldn't want to sit. That shows you how out to lunch that company was. They thought that their audience would be disgusted by Mick Foley winning the world title to a point where they wouldn't turn over the channel, which is so. This shows you how out of it they were. They were so far apart from the wrestling audience at that point. They thought that Mick Foley was a negative, that he was going to be a world champion, which was ridiculous.
Yeah. Big up Dean again. Loved him in reference to Punk. I loved him. I think his AEW return was one of the best moments in wrestling for me as a fan.
Yeah.
This iteration of him is pretty unbearable. Listen. I wrestling has never brought me to tears, but that CM Punk moment was an emotional moment for me, man. I lost my shit. It wasn't quite Shibata, but I wasn't under the influence of substances. So yeah,
I was never a CM Punk fan, really. I admired. I say it often when I'm on these things, but I admired the fact that he left and he went to the UFC. I thought that was such an admirable thing, and I respected that because he really wanted to give it a go and he gave it a shot. And I know people mock him for it, but not many people in his position would have even had the balls to go out there and do that. And he went out there and he done it twice. So I'll always give him his props for doing that. And when he came back to AEW, that whole episode around, I just thought that was one of the best things I'd ever seen in wrestling. I thought that was fantastic stuff.
Phenomenal. Navy says this is a reference to Kenny Omega being hacked. Kenny was actually got hacked. His account was tweeting pro WWE stuff.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that. All right.
Okay, we're gonna fly through these. LOL Punk is the biggest heel in the company. Bucks are faces by default in this instance. I agree.
I thought CM Punk was a heel on yesterday at WrestleMania when he attacked Drew. He came across as such a heel. Maybe it's because I think Drew is really good. I really like Drew McIntyre, but I thought he came across really heelish.
Yeah.
And then Priest came out and won that bronze medal title. And I saw everyone so happy. After that. It's really nice seeing people happy, but they'll probably wake up today and be like, "Fuck, now Damian Priest has got a world title." It's kind of like when Jesse Ventura became governor. Everyone was really excited, and the next day it was like, "Fuck, Jesse Ventura's our governor now." Shit.
Yeah. MAA. Didn't Tony offer Cornette a job? Bischoff definitely wanted one though, especially after he got sacked from WWE in 2019.
He didn't.
Yeah, sorry. I was gonna say
he did that right off. Go on.
No, Bischoff was on Dynamite in multiple segments, cheesing ear to ear during the pandemic. That man wanted a job. Bischoff was smiling. That's why when the Bischoff heel turn happened, I was like, but you were literally on Dynamite so many different times. But anyway.
You gotta understand, NK, that when these rich people come into professional wrestling, the old faces in wrestling, the ones that always got hired before, they immediately think that they're going to get jobs with this new person. The Vince Russos, the Bubba Ray Dudleys, the Eric Bischoffs, they immediately think that they're going to get work. Unfortunately, the guy that had the money knew about pro wrestling. He wasn't someone who was going to be fooled like previous millionaires that had got into wrestling before. And as far as Cornette, I think Tony. I don't remember. I wish I would remember. I think he wanted Cornette on as an advisor, as a booking advisor, which WWE have those, and a lot of other people have. You run your ideas through them, and they say, "Oh, you can maybe do this to make it better." But the story that I heard was that they spoke. Cornette wasn't happy with the talent that he wasn't happy with the Bucks and Kenny being in the promotion, and there was other people as well. He wasn't happy with the fact that AEW was going to be like an all-inclusive kind of thing, because Sonny Kiss and all these people were going to be working there. But he wasn't happy with that. So I know they had one conversation on the phone and it didn't go very well, and that was that.
Yeah,
but Cornette is literally wished death on AEW from the moment it was announced. I mean, he originally said that they wouldn't be around in 6 months, and then it wouldn't be around in a year. And I think as time goes on, he gets more angry and more angry because he's wrong. He's not as bad as Bischoff, though. I think Cornette is pretty vile, but Bischoff is the worst because he outright says stuff that is totally untrue. He just says anything to cater to his fan base.
I think not that I endorse any of them because I don't. But I think the thing about Cornette is I believe he believes what he's saying. I think about Cornette is he's had an agenda against the elite, against Kenny Omega for years. I mean, I remember for years. Like after that, Jim Cornette's review of Omega versus Okada are still up there. I mean, Jim Cornette believes what he believes. So I believe that Jim Cornette is coming from a genuine place in his own heart. With Eric Bischoff, I just feel like it's just disingenuous nonsense that he's upset he can't get a check, and now he's mad, and now he's throwing his toys out with the toys out of the pram. But anyways,
it's profitable to hate AEW. It is very profitable to hate AEW. That's just. I was listening to Joe Lanza say this the other day, in their business, it is incredibly profitable to hate on AEW, and they all know that. That's why they do it.
The YouTube formula is simple. Post Tony Khan making a weird face for explosions in the background. Is AEW doomed? Is Tony Khan an idiot?
Yeah.
Quick views. It's easy. Yeah. It's the which hey, some of these guys got to make a living in it, so it is what it is. Let's see. Okay, big up Lem. A lot of the stories that came out of the fight, he said Jack Perry got handled.
Lem, I know, but maybe if they're hearing the footage, maybe I'm trying to make sense of this, Lem. I'm trying to make sense as to why they'd hear this footage. Like, I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Okay, let's see. Oh my God, this was chill out on House of Torture. They're saving the business from what?
I don't know. I don't know about that, Lem.
I don't know about that one. You're my guy. I don't know about that.
Totally different, but
House of Torture they stink. They stink bad. Let's see. Maybe I was so excited when Punk debuted in AEW.
I was too.
Big up SP3. That New Japan episode will be happening soon. I'm not gonna have a date for it yet, but just know it will be happening.
A lot on his mind.
That dude Punk was way off his game on commentary. Homie had a lot on his mind. Punk seems like his mind's in a different. He seems like he's someone who would never run out of enemies. There will always be enemies for CM Punk. There will always be enemies. Big up SDK. Salute to Priest to see him go from Punch Martinez to world champion. Great to see. Yeah. Shout out to Priest.
Good on him.
Yeah, Cornette is horrible, to be clear. Oh, we know.
Oh, I know Cornette. I will say this. I used to listen. I've listened and read Jim Cornette's work for over like 25 years. He's really good for historical stuff. He's got a really good memory as well. But I think over the last maybe the last 7 or 8 years, Jim Cornette has just like been all the worst traits of his personality have been accentuated, and there's also been other stuff that I've learned about Cornette, like the racist stuff and all that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. People said Cornette was a racist, and New Jack and all these other wrestlers said that he was racist. But you got to take stuff with a grain of salt from some people, because especially with a guy like New Jack, no offense to him, but everyone was a racist.
The most reputable source.
Yeah, everyone was a racist to New Jack, really. So, but then you hear the audio, and it's just like, then it's the other stuff, the homophobic stuff. The Jade Cargill looks like.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into it, but it's even like I remember like the whole rant he had about the cleaner girls, Kenny Omega cleaner girls. Yeah, it was. But
the stuff about Kenny and the Joshis as well. It's just, he's just not a good guy. And you know what irritates me? You know what as well? He says he made fun of Dave Meltzer when Dave was getting a divorce. He made fun of the fact that Dave's marriage broke down. You know, the mad thing is that when Cornette was the stories about Cornette being he likes to watch he likes to watch his wife.
Oh, whoa!
Yeah, I'm sure. You hear about this stuff that he likes to watch. And when those accusations came out, I remember when Dave wouldn't even speak about it. He was like, "It's nothing. That's nothing." But I thought that was pretty low of Cornette to make fun of a guy getting divorced when he didn't do the same, when he could have done the same for you and he didn't. But
yeah. AEW hates gets views. It brings in the money.
It does.
Yeah, I was going to say one very random comparison. Jim Cornette is reminds me of Stink Nina. If you've ever watched the Boondocks, you know who Stink. Just fueled by hatred. Jim Cornette believes everything he says. Okay, I'm gonna scroll through. There's a lot of comments. Appreciate everyone commenting. There's a lot. Keep them going. Navy, I saw the comment. I'm not reading it. I saw the comment though. I think they're heavily going to edit the footage. Might make it look favorable for Perry.
I fucking need to.
Graps have got up. House of Torture fan club. Be inside.
Both of you, great.
We don't condone that. Commissioner's Corner host. We don't condone that. All the news website, news channels are so biased. Not the forest.
Oh yeah. Those are two I hear about. I don't follow them, but I hear about their content. And every so often, I get screenshots of their videos, and I'm just like, ugh, this is exactly what you'd think that they would be.
Moving swiftly on. Let us see. I read that one. The only way showing the footage makes sense is if they use it to bring back Jack Perry and make him the new Hangman of the Elite. They got to use it to help characters on the program.
Yeah, we said that earlier, SP3. I mean, if they're airing this footage, to me, it's because Jack Perry's showing back up on television at some point in the next couple of weeks. So that, to me, that's the only explanation as to why you'd want to air it. I still wouldn't air it. There's enough people in that room to come up with a better idea to bring Jack Perry back than to air that footage. And even if he did beat up CM Punk at Wembley, I'm not saying he did, but I don't see why you'd air the footage if he didn't. But even if he did beat up CM Punk at Wembley, I still wouldn't hear the footage anyway.
Yeah. Just reiterating, we at Rest Things, we like everyone. We have friends everywhere. We like everyone. Moving on. Let's see. Okay, there's a lot of Jim Cornette stuff. Fair enough. Okay.
Is it positive or is it negative?
Just a lot of negative Jim Cornette stuff in it. But yeah.
What was the Bill Maher comparison? I saw something flash up there. Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? I've listened to Bill Maher for years and years and years, and that's a great comparison.
Yeah. But the Yo stuff was so tragic, and the tragedy though, Doki and Fuji are getting platforms. They really do deserve it. I think it's a huge part. Hiromu has that division in the chokehold for long. Listen,
We'll talk about that show next week.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about. I know SP3's in the comments right now. He's a Hiromu fan. Hiromu's a good wrestler. I love him. I think New Japan, we need to move forward.
Yeah.
We need to move. In fact, hold on. I'm not going to announce it now, but we go talk about New Japan. I think with the Windy City Riot show, is it this weekend?
This weekend, Windy City Riot.
Yeah. All right. We'll I'll guarantee you this. We will be talking about Windy City Riot next week for sure. For sure. For sure. Yeah. Yeah, SP3. Y'all wild in the chat like I don't work for Wrestle Talk. Lol. If you watch the videos, they talk positive about every AEW all the time. That's right. Guys like SP3, there are some good guys. Big up SP3, Sati Nyangi. You know what I'm saying?
That's my guy.
Yeah, so no, big up Sat. We need to have Sat on the show at some point in time. I'm a message.
That's a good dude.
Good guy, man. And another Congolese brother, Congolese representative. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. I think that's about it. I think the conversation is just going into
Yeah, look, I tried to be fair with this whole video, with this security footage thing. I've tried to be fair today. I don't know if I have. I'm trying to just come up with an explanation as to why they'd hear it. I ain't got a fucking clue. But yeah, we're gonna find out on Wednesday what's going on here. Yeah, Wednesday's gonna answer a lot of questions because right now I don't have an answer or even how it's gonna end up afterwards because I've never been in this position before.
We know SP3, you know, we know SP3. But yeah, no, but seriously though, I think when it comes to this footage, I'm dreading the worst. I'm dreading the worst for sure. When it comes to this footage, I just don't see a positive outcome.
Yeah. Unless, like I said, Jack Perry savagely beat up CM Punk at Wembley, savagely beat him up, and Samoa Joe had to tear him off of CM Punk. There's no explanation as to why you do this footage. There's none. Not keen on that idea whatsoever.
None. I'm gonna address the last few comments and we're gonna be out of here. Big up Dean. It's because I asked about Yo being injured at Sacra Genesis. That was the comments. Apologies, guys. No, it's up. Listen, no,
that's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for. Listen, but before Commissioner's Corner, there's TDM, Tokyo Dome Merchants. New Japan talk will never be discouraged. It's just New Japan's not my friend right now, and I don't like talking about it.
And if anyone wants to talk about the 1980s, please throw comments at me. Yeah. That makes me happy.
We need to get knowledge on True Hill Heat. Yeah, man. Get knowledge on. Yeah, man. Trust me. I feel like we will. Trust me. We will organize something soon. But yeah, guys, I think that's a wrap for today. We appreciate everyone in the comment section. This has been a very, very fun episode. As much as I was struggling to read all the comments, I love it when you guys comment. It shows you're interacting. It's good for engagement. But make sure after this video, if you ain't liked, make sure you go and like. Make sure you share. Make sure you subscribe. And also feel free to let us know who you would like us to talk to on the show. You know what I'm saying?
Are there any subjects that you want us to discuss on the show, whether it be historical subjects or anything? I don't want to talk about Brawl Out, though.
Yeah.
Do not want to talk about CM Punk anymore. I try and avoid that. I also don't really want to talk about the Montreal Screwjob, but if people have questions, I suppose I will answer them. I'll try and avoid that one. But I can pretty much discuss any subject in wrestling, especially like from the Western side of things, maybe from the 1940s onwards.
Yeah. Do you know what? In the comment section, yeah, we're going to do this every time we come on live. If you want to ask Knowledge a question, just put in the comment section, #ask knowledge and your question. #ask knowledge. And then whatever wrestling related topic, provided it's not CM Punk and the Montreal Screwjob, Knowledge will get to answer it. Yeah, man. This is what we're here for, man. The pro wrestling encyclopedia himself. But yeah, like we said earlier on in the beginning of the show, there's tons of content from WrestleMania, whether it's our reactions, whether it's the vlogs with the Mandem in Philadelphia in the flesh. And stay tuned for Friday, where all the Mandem will be in studio breaking down WrestleMania in depth.
When are they coming back?
What'd you say?
When are they flying back? I don't remember what Mex said last week.
Let's see. I need even to ask in the group chat whether the Mandem fly. The Mandem will be back soon.
Are you going to be in studio?
Yes, I will be there on
Hey.
Friday. I will be there.
Lovely.
I'll be there in the flesh. We will be there. You know what I'm saying? Stay lots. To rest things, like, share, comment, subscribe. Watch Commissioner's Corner. Watch Indie Takers. Watch the Watch the flagship podcast. Watch Break It Down. Watch tier rankings. Watch all the content we got.
Rest Things House. I was on loads of them. Watch those.
Yes, Rest Things House. Keep your.
What was the one that I had?
You had
What was the one that I had before? What was it called again? It was good.
Oh, the show you had with
me and Dale sat down. Wrestling for EDS. That was a good one.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah. So I thought you were talking about what episode you were on the Wrestling House.
No, I'm on quite a few of those.
Yeah,
I'm on quite a few of those. We did Wrestling for EDS a couple of years, about a year ago. Those were pretty good as well. There's a really good one that me and Dale sat down and we discussed the connection between pro wrestling and MMA.
Yeah, I remember that one.
That was a good one. And I bring that up because it reminded me of that episode because I was watching highlights of Ali and Inoki. And we discussed that fight and the circumstances around that fight on the episode. So, if you go into the Rest Things archive and you can find that one on there. It's a good little chat. So, a good 30-minute talk.
Content, tons of wrestling content on wrestling.
There's lots of content on Rest Things YouTube channel.
Yeah, man. Stay locked. Stay ready. We will be back next week, same time. It's been your boy NK. It's been Knowledge. Commissioner's Corner. We are signing out. Peace.